Hello, Amanda. How are you today?
Hi, Wendy. I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm good. I am super, super excited to talk all about, well, a little bit about your business and how someone could become a remote dental biller and some questions around that. So tell us, what do you do? Um, and we just kind of segue right into that.
Awesome. Yeah. So I own Essential Dental Services. We are an outsourced remote billing company. We do insurance verifications, total insurance AR, and total patient AR. So pretty much the entire revenue cycle, start to finish. I've got about 20 people on my team right now, and obviously offices all across the country. Yeah, that's me.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. So, what do you like to see on a resume when you are looking at a remote biller? Obviously, me as a recruiter, and I can see the qualifications of the office. I can look for like 6 seconds. I know that's what like the statistic is too, and sometimes it could even be less. So, what's going to be something that immediately makes them stand out so that you're like, no, okay, this could be a good fit.
So from the actual resume perspective, what I really like to see is a resume made on Canva. Those
Uh-huh.
pop. They absolutely pop to me. I am inundated with resumes, honestly. I mean, I've received hundreds and hundreds. Everyone wants to work from home. I think of those hundreds, I've probably got 3 resumes that were made on Canva. Those 3 ladies
Oh.
work for me.
Uh-huh.
So that's what's going to make it pop right from the jump. Um, but I think what I don't want to see, and in probably those 6 seconds, like you mentioned, if I see any typos, spelling errors, grammatical mistakes, I will not reach out to that person.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, oh yeah, that's completely understandable. I mean, there's spell check and there's, you can copy and paste each section into a Word document if because I don't think Canva does um, like checking spelling errors and grammatical errors and stuff, but I use Grammarly and that works through Canva.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very simple. A couple reasons that that's really important. The spell check is everything that we do is very detail oriented. So, an insurance verification, a breakdown, that is extremely detail oriented. If your resume doesn't have spell check, that shows me that you're really not that detail oriented of a person enough so to just use spell check on your resume. Also, we're making a lot of account notes in patients' ledgers. Those need to be in proper English with proper grammar. They reflect not only the office that we're working for, but they reflect, my company too. So if I don't see right off the bat that that is how you're typing, then I won't reach out to those resumes.
Yeah. Do you like photos on the resume?
I personally do, but it's really not a make or break. As I was mentioning, those 3 Canva resumes that I got, they did all have a photo.
Mhm.
And photos to me, they just make it a little more personal. And these don't have to necessarily have to be professional headshots. It should be tasteful, but it doesn't have to be, a professional headshot you went and had someone take it and paid for or anything. And there's a lot of great apps out there these days that can help you out. I think there's even AI headshots and things.
Yeah, there is.
You could be in your sweatpants, but they just Photoshop a suit over you.
Mhm. Yeah, I've seen those. Those look really cool, and I'd love to try it.
Yes, me too. I
I
haven't yet, but
um, So from a recruiter standpoint, all of the recruiters that I talk with, they all say never put a photo on a resume. So I just want to make that mention that I also love photos. However, if you are in a protected class, then you know you just don't want any kind of discrimination, even if you're not in a protected class, because if there's an office that they're like, well, we really want this ethnicity of a person, and if they decide to not choose you because it doesn't appear that you are that ethnicity, even though you might be, I mean, obviously, no one is supposed to choose somebody on that wavelength, but we all know that it happens. So also just making sure that we mention that from a recruiter standpoint, you're not really supposed to put your photo on there, but I love seeing photos on there. Love to see who I'm going to look at.
I do. Like I said, it's not a make or break thing. To me, it just makes it more personal. I'm a small company, so in the grand scheme of things, so, you know, I like to get to know my team, and that's one way to start that off. So.
Perfect. Okay. And how many years of experience do you look for?
Some of the specifics that I'm going to say certainly applied to my company. So I want to preface this all by saying that, because I think if you're applying to different billing companies, they're going to have a different set of standards. Mine might be a little bit higher. I am looking for about 7 to 8 years experience as a practice manager specifically, or a revenue cycle manager. So everyone on my team right now meets that criteria. I'm currently not training or anything like that. So that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, perfect. And that kind of leads me to my next question too, is what if someone does not have experience, or what if they went through like front office rocks, or like a certain insurance course or something like that?
For me personally, to hire them, that probably wouldn't fit the bill for me, but I think that would certainly be sufficient for some other companies. How I sort of separate myself from other companies is that everyone on my team has been a practice manager, or currently still is. Some people work for me part-time. So when offices hire my company, they're getting a little bit different of an experience and knowledge base there. But I know some other companies are a bit different.
And do you have any, for your company specifically, do you have any days or hours that you are requiring of this person?
It depends a little bit on the office that they're assigned to, and they're always given an option before they take on a new client, for sure. With insurance verifications, if that's kind of all that they're doing, that is pretty flexible. As long as you're meeting deadlines, you are pretty open to work when you want to work. Of course, you do need to set aside some daytime hours to call insurance companies if you need to, if you can't grab everything from an insurance portal or clearinghouse or something. Some of the other services that we offer, like the insurance portion and patient portion, if you're posting payments and things, those need to be done in a timely fashion. So they're done within 24 hours. So it varies a little bit depending on what you're looking to do and take on.
Okay, wonderful. Do you, that question is going to be not quite right for this setting. What other kind of things do you look at within resumes that grabs your attention, or that you like to see?
So all my resumes, they come to me via email, just to my direct email. When I get a resume through email and it's just a PDF, there's nothing in that email body. They're not introducing themselves. They don't have a cover letter. They have nothing. I don't really like to see those. I need a little bit of an introduction to you. And also in a resume, there, that beginning kind of paragraph, that's an introduction or objective. Those can be short and sweet, but I like those to be tailored a little bit to the position that they're applying for. So I've definitely received some that I can tell they're just mass mailing this resume off. their objective is saying they're trying to find a position as a dental assistant, or there's something totally unrelated. So that needs to be a little tailored to the position. And that can also list your years of experience on there as well. So that little beginning paragraph is important, I think. I like to see that people are enthusiastic about this position. They really want it. It's not just like, oh, I'll just email my resume off there, know nothing about the company, or like something like that. Another thing with resumes is they can be either too short or too long. Most of the ones that I see are probably too long. I don't need to see a 4-page resume.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
1 page is sufficient. I don't need to see every job you've ever had since the 1980s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I don't need to see that you worked at a grocery store when you were in high school. So I think the last, what do you say, Wendy? Like, how many years do you go back with what you put on there?
So I think that's very dependent. So let's say, usually I say about the last 3 jobs, but I agree. You don't need to have every single job you've ever had. And I'm just taking notes so that I make sure that I hit back on them. But let's say, for example, if you were an office manager for 10 years, you went in to be an assistant for some reason for 2 years, and then the last 1 year you have been remote or something. And if you like, you'd want to for sure leave that office manager position on there because it's very relevant in this. So the last 2 to 4 jobs, just depending on how relevant they're going to be going into this situation. Especially if you went in to be a dental assistant, maybe at 2 different practices, and then you were remote, then you'd for sure want to have that office manager position on there.
I agree. Yep. So I actually do love to see dental assistant or hygiene experience. It really just gives you a fuller picture of the job and procedures. So I would love to see that. But yeah, it doesn't need to be more than a page, and really just what the majority of your last maybe 10 years looked like or something like that. So some resumes are too brief. They're just literally workplaces, no descriptions of what they did, very, very minimal information. So I don't see many of those. It's more so the 4-page.
Yeah. And I would say 2 pages, absolutely max. And your second page does not have to be filled. It can be a 1/4 page. It could be a 1/2 page. But if there was something else that you feel like you needed to put on there, I mean, let's be honest, if we want to contact somebody, your name can be up at the top. It doesn't need to be this big. And you can put your cell phone and your email address as like a footer if you needed to create enough space. If somebody wants to hire you, they will find your phone number, and your name doesn't need to be so ginormous. Another thing that I wanted to make a mention of is your resume. Make sure that there's a title on the resume, because if we're getting a resume in and it doesn't have your name and it just has a whole bunch of numbers, or it's just like a first name or just a last name, we might be thinking of the person's name of their opposite. So if they gave us their first name, we might be thinking of them as their last name. And it is super, super simple to change the title or the name of the PDF that you're sending. And I just wish that more people would do that. And I know that through like Indeed, when you download resumes, or if you download your own resume on Indeed, a lot of times those resumes are very inaccurate. And I ask pretty much every single person that I interview that sends me an Indeed resume, I will ask them, is this up to date? Because it sounds like Indeed makes it really difficult to actually update your resume. So making sure that if I know you said that you get all of your resumes through to your email, but I think it's super important to take that extra 1 to 2 hours, whatever amount of time, however savvy and fast you are on Canva, to actually create the resume. it's going to be well worth it to not send an Indeed resume to anybody, if it's a remote position or not.
Yes, because I think when it kind of gets downloaded, the format is just way off, right?
It can be sometimes. The format usually is okay on my end. It's just the experience. It hasn't caught up or something. And people even tell me, I've tried to edit my resume and I'm like, well, it didn't take. So
I think updating your resume in general, even if it's on a PDF, I mean, I get a lot of emails with resumes, and right in the email, they kind of say, this resume isn't up to date, but well, yeah, just take a couple minutes and change that.
Absolutely. It does, especially if you're just updating it, it really doesn't take that much time. Yeah. There's no perfect resume. It obviously we want it to be one page, but if it's a little bit more than that, you don't have to freak out over it. Just put your last job in there if you need to delete the fourth job or whatever that looks like. There's no set in stone perfect resume. So one other thing that I did want to touch on too was how you had mentioned we don't need to see every job since like the 80s. Never date yourself. It doesn't matter how long you have been at a practice. Obviously, if you say you've been at a practice since 1991, we're going to assume, how old you are. And that doesn't necessarily mean anything to a lot of people. And obviously, more experience is probably better for you. But you never want to accidentally put yourself into any class because you don't know what the employer is thinking. And again, nobody's supposed to judge on that. But let's be honest, most employers do. Luckily for us, for us here at Career Elevation, when we interview, that's not something that we can judge on. And I will present anybody to a practice, but it still happens. So remove, and you don't need your high school on there. High school is super, super irrelevant. You don't need the year you graduated from dental assisting school or hygiene school or any college. It totally does not matter. So remove any dates that potentially date you.
I agree with that. Yep.
Anything else you want to see on a resume before we go to some of the questions that we had got?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's go with the questions because I think some of the things I'm going to say will play into those.
Okay. So we got a question saying, I'm currently a remote biller. How do you measure the success of a biller? I currently post payments and work in outstanding claims for multiple offices.
So one thing I like to see on a resume, and just in general, I'm kind of a continuing education junkie. I take a lot of classes. Of course, I'm not looking for people to be as committed as me. But what I love to see on resumes is what extra continuing education you've taken lately, specifically with my company being mostly a dental insurance based company. That's an ever evolving situation. Insurance changes all the time, laws, codes, all of that stuff. So I want to see that people are keeping up with that. So I love when resumes kind of have just a little blurb of maybe the last 5, or it doesn't have to be that many per se, courses that they've taken, and they can just be webinars. They don't have to be this intensive weekend long workshop, but just to show me that you're making an effort and you're invested in your career. So how do you measure the success of a biller? That is a big piece of it, is continuing to better yourself and expand your knowledge.
Yeah, I have something to play on that as well. I think that the success of a biller or anybody within a remote position is also super dependent on what the company themselves want. Somebody might want 98% accuracy. Somebody else might want, I want you to work on this many claims throughout the day, or this, X amount of dollars, or something like that. I think the success of a biller is very, very dependent on 1, the individual, and 2, the practice themselves. So for this person, I would say, I would recommend, go to your manager, your boss, your supervisor, the owner, whoever that might look like for you, and ask them, how can I do the best job for you? What are the KPIs, your key performance indicators for me in this role? Where am I measuring? And if you're trying to increase your wage or a percentage, depending on how you are paying, if you're trying to increase your wage or your percentage, say, I want to be at X amount of dollars. When and how can I get there? I think that's a much better question if that's kind of the circle around of what they're trying to get at with this post. There could be a lot of I'm just kind of assuming, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Depending on the company, there could be some varying factors there. But another way to measure is how happy your clients are, the offices that you're actually working for. If you're making mistakes, things like that. I mean, those are when mistakes pop up, I remediate them immediately. And, you kind of only have so many chances to perform. But, all of my team, they've been with me for a long time. I know their offices are very happy. We check in with them regularly. We send kind of weekly reports, and we're able to go back and forth with the office if there's something they want adjusted. But all of my clients have a pretty direct relationship with their account manager, my team member, and they feel a little bit like a behind the scenes team member of their office. Not too much, because that's why you're outsourcing, but
Yep.
but yeah, so a big part of it is your client's happiness for sure.
Perfect. Another question was the work schedule and what offices are looking for. How many days a week is one office as a commitment? Do you have some things you could share about that?
Really varies. I touched on this a little bit, depending on kind of what you're doing for that office. That's going to set the schedule. So I can kind of just speak to some of what my current team members are working. If we're kind of doing a full revenue cycle, so insurance verifications, all insurance claim submission and payment posting, and also patient AR, depending on the practice size, that really could be 20 hours a week or 40 hours a week and be kind of like a full-time thing. It also really is highly dependent on the account manager's speed.
Mm-hmm.
I have some really, really fast, accurate team members, and I have some really, really slow, accurate team members, and that works for them. So a lot of the ladies who work for me are practice managers, and they kind of work for me part-time, so they're fine with that. They're fine with kind of working on one small office, and then I have others who work for me full-time, so they want to take on more and they're hungry to do that. It's just really kind of what suits your needs and your lifestyle for sure.
Perfect. The last question we've kind of already touched on. Somebody had asked them, a dental assistant / EFTA for over 6 years. Is there something that I could do from home? Obviously, it doesn't sound like that would be the case for your position, at least with the experience that we have presented to us. I would say that there are some companies that they could apply to. I don't want to give any names right here because I think that there's a lot of potential possibility, but I think also I've seen some people in different Facebook groups that will say, these are my qualifications, here's my resume, maybe minus your phone number and email address, make sure that they reach out and that it's an actual person, and then send your phone number and email address, or send the actual resume. And say, these are the things that I'm looking for. Can anybody think of any remote positions for me? Anything you want to play into that?
Yeah. So without naming companies, there's actually a lot of room for remote positions for dental assistants specifically. A lot of clear aligner companies have remote positions for dental assistants, and just other companies in general. So unless you're really trying to stray from dental assisting and what that entails and make a jump to more administrative duties, those might be some good options. If I were a dental assistant looking to really transition over to remote billing, I would certainly take some front office courses.
Mm-hmm.
Front Office Rocks. Teresa Duncan has a fantastic insurance course out right now that is start to finish everything you need to know about the world of insurance and coding and billing and changes. And it's amazing and immersive, and you're going to learn a lot from that. The ADA has a dental coding 2-part certification, which I've taken myself. That's pretty extensive too. So you're going to find a lot of knowledge there. So those are a few places to start. I mean, ADOM is a fantastic resource too. So there's a lot out there. You just have to seek it. Yeah. And those are good starting points for sure.
I think going down a rabbit hole in several different Facebook groups to search inside of the Facebook groups to see, remote billing or remote work, or just plug in a whole bunch of keywords. I think the more work that you do on your end is going to end up giving you a better quality position and longer term. So like you had said, you don't want everybody, we call it spray and pray. We don't want to just see people just like spraying their resume out there to everybody and then just praying that somebody is going to pick it up. What we would rather see is, especially for all of the jobs that I post, I have a video for each of them. And I absolutely love when people go and learn about Career Elevation, my company. To me, that means that they really actually want the job. They really want the position. They want to learn, who is this person who's interviewing me? So the more that you learn about the company, if somebody were to go to your website and in the introductory email for them to send to you to say, here's my resume, I also learned this and this and this about you, do a deep dive into any individual person or the company or the owner and see if there's anything that you can tie in and align, and make sure that it is relevant, not just like, oh, hey, I also have a little baby, something that's relevant, that makes sense. I think that those are some other things that can be done to potentially help your chances instead of just putting your resume out there to everybody, because we can feel it.
Absolutely. I think I've maybe seen it one time too. I mean, just you're right. If you took the time to go to my webpage and go to the About Me section, and some of that is mentioned in your either email body or cover page or something like that, that for sure is going to stand out to me. Just, it doesn't happen often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It absolutely does not happen super often for me either. But when it does, I can tell that the person's invested, and I always tell the office, this is going to be a really good person. You're really going to want to potentially work with them, as long as they obviously fit in the hours and the pay and everything is good. But it's very beneficial on our side.
Yes, for sure. And then I want to go back just a little bit to the dental assisting, wanting to take the jump over. Some other companies, and I won't name names, they don't require what I exactly require. And a lot of it is based off a test. You take a test. If you pass that, you kind of move on to the next level and interview and things like that. So if you can gain the knowledge to pass those assessments, that's going to get you to the next level and be able to potentially work for those companies. So, and I really do. I like to hire more and more now. I'm getting resumes from remote billers who worked for other companies. And I really love hiring from that pool because they have great experience. They already know how this goes. It's pretty much a seamless transition. So if you're not, if you get a start off job and you're not happy there, you can move on to the next company. So
one other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on, which I thought of it and I just lost it, I think. That's what happens when you have a little baby.
Yes. How old is your baby?
He's 9 months. But
Okay.
man, my pregnancy brain has been a lot of fun to deal with. I have to
Yeah,
write everything down.
that is funny because I didn't believe I have he's almost 2. He'll be 2 in a couple months. But I swore up and down that I was not going to have pregnancy brain, that was not going to be a thing. Oh, it absolutely was a thing. So
Yeah.
I hear you.
So, all right. Well, wonderful. If I think of anything else, I'll make sure to put it in the description box below. And so anybody can kind of comment if you want to. If there's any other videos that I have on my YouTube, obviously you can just click on over. If there's anything, Amanda, that you want to share, I can put it in the description box. Please let me know. And I'm happy to do that. Whatever we can help to gain more knowledge for people is always my favorite thing to do. So
Yes.
awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Wendy.
Thanks.